The ghost signal. The stars stretched across the endless dark like silver dust. The Empire's patrol ship Vera 9 drifted near the edge of controlled space. Its crew was restless, tired of scanning empty skies. For weeks, nothing had happened. No pirates, no smugglers, no rebels. Only silence. But that night silence broke. A young officer named Ralos sat at the console. His eyes were heavy from long hours. Yet suddenly his screen lit up. A strange pulse appeared, faint but steady. It was not random static. It was not a normal signal. It was a heartbeat echoing across the stars. Ralos blinked, leaned forward, and tapped the controls. The pulse grew, stronger, sharper. His chest tightened. He called out, voice unsteady. "Commander, I am picking something up." The commander, an old alien with dull gray skin, frowned. He had heard the same call many times before. Most signals turned out to be broken equipment or tricks by smugglers, but when he saw the screen, his breath caught. This was no accident. "What is it?" the commander asked. "I don't know," Ralos admitted. "It's not in the database. It doesn't match anything." Then the stars outside shifted. At first, it looked like a ripple, like water disturbed in the void. Space itself bent, folded, and something appeared. The crew froze. Hearts pounded, alarms screamed. Before their eyes, a massive ship formed out of nothing. It was darker than the night, its hull smooth and seamless. Strange glowing lines pulsed across its surface. No markings, no banners of the Empire, no codes to identify it, only silence. It appeared from nowhere. Ralos whispered. His voice shook. His hands trembled over the console. The commander barked orders. Raise shields, power weapons, lock scanners. But none of it mattered. The strange ship just floated, watching, silent and calm. Minutes passed, yet it felt like hours. The crew whispered in fear. Some thought it was a weapon test. Some thought it was a ghost. Others dared not say the word that pressed at the edge of their minds. Human. Then just as suddenly it vanished. No sound, no trace, no jump signature, no light. The massive vessel was gone as if it had never been there. Only empty space remained. The alarms fell silent. The crew stared at each other, eyes wide, sweat dripping down their faces. "What was that?" one officer whispered. The commander gripped the railing. His hands were shaking. He was a veteran, trained to face wars, rebellions, even assassins. But nothing in his life had prepared him for this. "Send report to Central Command," he ordered. His voice cracked with fear. Ralos obeyed quickly. His fingers flew across the console, sending every detail, the pulse, the appearance, the vanish. He attached the visual recording, clear and undeniable. Yet in his heart he knew no one would believe them. Hours later, Vera 9 returned to the nearest station. The commander gave his report, but the officials laughed. They called it a malfunction, a trick of light, a technical error. They ordered silence. No one was to speak of it again, but silence could not hold back fear. The rumor spread faster than light. At the border posts, soldiers whispered of the phantom ship. Some swore it destroyed fleets. Others claimed it passed. Through walls of steel like mist, none had proof, but fear did not need proof. Ralos could not sleep that night. He lay in his bunk, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment again and again. The strange pulse, the ripple in space, the black vessel that arrived and disappeared. He had seen it with his own eyes. It was real. The young officer felt a chill deeper than cold. The Empire was powerful, vast and eternal. That was what every citizen was told. But what he had seen proved otherwise. Against that silent ship, the Empire was fragile, like glass before a hammer. Far away in the dark of uncharted space, the ship appeared again. It floated without sound, its glowing veins pulsing softly. No one was there to see it this time. No one but the stars. Then, in less than a breath, it vanished once more. Back at the station, Central Command buried the report. They told themselves it was nothing. But deep inside, the first crack had already formed. The Empire was proud, but pride cannot stand against shadows. The ghost signal had whispered its warning, and soon, the galaxy would listen. Fear across the Empire. The report from the patrol ship Vera 9 was buried. But fear does not stay buried for long. Word of the phantom ship spread like fire in dry grass. It moved from one outpost to another, carried by nervous soldiers and frightened officers. At first, it was whispers, quiet talk in corridors, late at night in the mess halls. A ship appeared, then vanished. They said, no warning, no signature, no name. Some called it a ghost, some called it a weapon, some dared to say the forbidden word. Human, in the great council chamber of the Empire, the high commanders sat in a circle of cold steel. The Emperor's voice echoed across the hall as he demanded answers. What is this nonsense about a phantom vessel? A general rose, his armor gleaming. Your Majesty, it is nothing but sensor error. Patrol crews are tired, they see shadows where none exist. His words were strong, but his eyes betrayed doubt. Another commander disagreed, slamming his fist on the table. I have seen the recordings. That was no malfunction. The ship was real. It appeared inside restricted space, and then it was gone. Nothing in our arsenal can do that. The council divided. Some laughed, dismissing it as fear. Others grew pale, remembering ancient legends. For centuries, the Empire had taught that humans were extinct, wiped away by war. But deep down, none truly knew how they had vanished across the Empire's colonies. The people heard the rumors, traders carried the tales. Miners whispered about it as they dug in the cold rock. Farmers spoke of it as they watched the skies at night. Fear spread faster than orders. Mothers hushed their children with stories. Stay quiet, or the ghost ship will come. Young recruits boasted in public, but in private they trembled. No fleet could fight an enemy that appeared and vanished without trace. In the outer colonies, discipline began to crack. A captain refused to send his men on patrol, claiming he would not risk them against shadows. On another world, soldiers deserted, choosing to hide in the wilderness rather than face the phantom. The Empire's strength was not only in weapons, but in the belief of its people. Now that belief was breaking. In the heart of the capital, an alien researcher named Siva worked in the archives. He was young, curious, and reckless. His hands shook as he pulled out forbidden records, ancient scrolls, and broken data drives. He read about a war long forgotten about humans. The texts spoke of their ships, vessels that bent space, engines that needed no gates, weapons that shattered fleets in moments. The words chilled him. His heart pounded. He knew what the patrol ship had seen, but when he brought his findings to his superiors, they silenced him. Speak no more of this, they warned. The Empire cannot allow such fear to spread. His research was locked away, his warnings ignored, yet the truth had already escaped into his mind. Meanwhile, far from the capital, a small convoy of Empire ships vanished. No distress signal, no wreckage, only silence. Families waited for messages that never came. Commanders grew restless. They tried to hide the news, but whispers carried faster than truth. At border stations, soldiers began carving strange marks into the walls, crude drawings of a black ship with glowing veins. It became a symbol of fear and of rebellion. The Empire sent out stronger patrols, fleets armed with the best weapons, but none reported success, none found the phantom. Every scan returned empty, yet every soldier felt eyes watching from the dark. The Emperor himself grew uneasy. He walked alone in his chamber, staring out at the night sky. His reflection on the window looked fragile. It cannot be humans. He whispered to himself, they are gone, gone forever. But in his heart he was not sure. News reached him of colonies refusing taxes, of governors begging for more ships, of generals asking for answers. The phantom was breaking the Empire without firing a single shot. One night, in a remote sector, the phantom ship appeared again. A mining vessel saw it, and the crew sent frantic messages. Their words were clear. It is not a ghost, it is real, it watches us. The recording spread in secret, passed hand to hand. The fear became truth. The people of the Empire no longer trusted their leaders. They no longer trusted their fleets. Every shadow in the stars became a threat. Every silence in the comms became a warning. The ghost signal had become more than a mystery. It was now a symbol, a shadow that hung over every world of the Empire, and deep in the void, the phantom ship drifted again. Its glowing veins pulsed, slowly, calm and patient. It did not need to fire. It did not need to speak. Its silence was louder than any weapon. The Empire believed it was eternal, but eternity was ending. The phantom had returned, and fear was its greatest weapon. The return of the phantom. The Empire tried to bury the fear. But shadows cannot be buried. In every colony, in every station, the whisper of the phantom ship grew louder. Some called it a ghost, some called it a weapon, but all agreed on one thing. It was real. The Emperor ordered fleets to patrol the skies. Dozens of ships stretched across the border, engines burning bright. They thought numbers would keep them safe. They thought power would keep the fear away. Then the phantom returned. It appeared without warning. The stars bent, space rippled like water, and the black vessel slid out of nothingness. Its hull gleamed with strange glowing lines, pulsing like veins. The patrol fleet froze, weapons ready, voices screaming in panic. "Fire!" shouted the admiral. His voice cracked as hundreds of cannons blazed. Missiles streaked across the void, lasers cut the dark, but none of it touched the phantom. The shots passed through empty space, as if the ship was not there. Then, with a single flash of light, the Empire's flagship vanished. No explosion, no wreckage. It was simply gone. The fleet broke. Captains screamed for retreat. Ships collided as they tried to flee. But the phantom moved with silent calm, one by one. Ships disappeared, swallowed by invisible force. In less than a minute, half the fleet was gone. The survivors scattered, engines burning. They did not fight. They did not resist. They only ran. The phantom ship lingered for a moment, silent, unmoving. Its glowing veins pulsed brighter, as if watching. Then it vanished, leaving only broken comms and terrified hearts. Across the Empire, the news spread. Like poison, the officials tried to deny it, but soldiers carried the truth. They told of ships erased in seconds, of weapons useless against the shadow. They told of the human symbol. A mark burned into the hull of the phantom. The people trembled. The word human spread once again, forbidden yet alive. Children whispered it in the dark. Rebels painted it on walls. Even the loyal began to wonder. Were humans truly gone? Or had they waited all this time? In the capital, the council was in chaos. Some demanded stronger fleets. Some demanded surrender to whatever power lurked in the dark. The Emperor slammed his fist on the table. "Humans are extinct," he roared. "This is a lie, a trick, a coward's tale." But his voice shook. His eyes betrayed fear. Meanwhile, far from the council's eyes, young researcher Siva worked in secret. He studied the ancient archives again. His fingers trembled as he uncovered more stories of the human war. The text spoke of ships that bent the laws of space, of engines that traveled without gates, of weapons that erased enemies without leaving ash. Every word matched the phantom. Siva whispered to himself, "They are not gone. They are waiting." The Empire ignored the warnings, but the galaxy did not. Merchants stopped traveling, fearing shadows in the stars. Colonies hoarded supplies, waiting for disaster. Governors begged for help, but help never came. Fear was no longer rumor. It was now daily life. Then came the day the phantom appeared inside a secure system, deep within Empire space. A fleet of 50 warships stood guard around a vital trade hub. Their commanders laughed at the stories, believing themselves untouchable. The laugh ended when the stars bent. The phantom emerged in silence. Its glowing veins lit the black. The fleet opened fire, filling the void with light and fury. But the phantom did not move. It did not dodge. It did not shield itself. The attacks passed through as if hitting smoke. Then the hub itself vanished. A massive station, home to millions, disappeared in a flash of white. No wreckage, no screams, only silence. The survivors watched in horror as the phantom pulsed once, like a heartbeat. Then it vanished. The trade hub was gone, the fleet shattered, and the fear unchained. That night, in every colony, people stopped believing in the Empire's strength. They stopped trusting the Emperor's words. For the first Time they believed in something else, something stronger, something older, something human. The Phantom had returned not to fight, not to conquer, but to remind the galaxy of what humans were, to remind the Empire that power is fragile, to remind every star that silence can be more deadly than war. In the shadows of space, the Phantom drifted again. Its glowing veins pulsed slowly, like a sleeping giant. It had no need to roar. Its silence was enough. The Empire thought itself eternal, but eternity trembled. The Phantom had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. The human connection. The Empire was breaking under shadows. Fleets had failed, stations had vanished, and fear was spreading faster than any army. But in the quiet archives of the capital, one young researcher searched for truth. His name was Siva. Siva was not a soldier, not a leader. He was a scholar, a keeper of forgotten records. While the council dismissed the Phantom ship as nonsense, he spent his nights digging through dusty data cores and forbidden scrolls. The more he read, the more his heart pounded. The ancient texts spoke of a race called humans. Once they ruled distant stars. Once they fought the Empire in a war so terrible that even memory of it had been erased. The Empire declared them extinct, destroyed. But the records told another story. The descriptions chilled him. Ships that bent space without gates, weapons that erased enemies without fire, fleets that vanished and reappeared at will. Every line matched the Phantom that now haunted the skies. Late at night, Siva whispered to himself, "It is them. It has to be humans." He tried to warn his superiors, but they silenced him. The council laughed at his words. They locked his research away and ordered him to forget. But Siva could not forget. The image of the black vessel with glowing veins burned in his mind. Meanwhile, across the Empire, soldiers began to speak of humans again. Old stories came alive. Prisoners in dark cells whispered prayers to humans. Rebels carved their symbol into walls. Even children began to fear the name. The Emperor grew furious. "Silence this madness," he ordered. "There are no humans." But even his words carried no strength. His voice trembled with fear. One evening, Siva was approached by an old archivist. Her eyes were tired, her voice weak, but she handed him a sealed box. "Take this," she whispered, "and do not let them see you." Inside the box lay fragments of a human recording, old but still clear. A voice spoke, deep and calm. "If the Empire rises again, we will return. We will not warn. We will not ask. We will not forgive." Siva's blood ran cold. He replayed the recording again and again. The voice was human, powerful and steady. It was not a threat. It was a promise. The next day, Siva met in secret with a group of young officers. They were frightened, desperate. Searching for answers, he told them the truth. He showed them the fragments. He whispered the word they feared to say aloud: humans. The officers stared at him with wide eyes. Some denied it, some cursed, but all of them knew it was true. The Phantom was no ghost. It was the return of the lost race. Meanwhile, the Phantom ship appeared again, not at the borders, but deep inside Empire territory. It hovered above a lonely colony world, silent and calm. The people fell to their knees. Some screamed, some prayed, some reached toward the sky as if begging. The ship did not fire, it did not destroy. It only hovered for a moment, its glowing veins pulsing like a heartbeat. Then it vanished, leaving the world trembling. Siva heard of the event and wrote in his secret journal, "They are not only destroying, they are reminding. They are showing us they are everywhere." The Empire's generals demanded answers. They pushed their fleets harder, sending patrols into the dark. But no patrol ever found the Phantom. The more they searched, the more fear grew. The Emperor began to dream of shadows. He woke at night sweating, whispering the word he hated most: humans. His guards pretended not to hear, but they too whispered. When he was gone, rebellion stirred in the outer colonies. They believed the Phantom ship was a sign. Some thought the humans had come to free them. Others thought they had come to punish. Either way, hope and fear spread together. One night, Siva stood alone on the balcony of the archives. He looked up at the sky, the stars shining cold and bright. He whispered, "If you are out there, why now? Why return after all these years?" As if answering, the sky rippled. For a single second, he saw the black vessel drift across the stars. Silent, enormous. Its glowing veins pulsed once, then it was gone. Tears filled his eyes. He fell to his knees. For the first time in his life, he understood the truth. The Empire was not eternal. The humans had returned, and the Empire never had a chance. The Empire crumbles. The Empire had always stood like a mountain, proud and unshaken. For centuries, its fleets patrolled the stars, its armies crushed rebellions, and its people obeyed without question. But now, the mountain was cracking. The Phantom ship did not fight in great battles. It did not march armies across worlds. It appeared and vanished, silent and unstoppable. And each time it appeared, the Empire grew weaker. Trade routes collapsed. Merchants refused to travel, fearing the shadow. In the sky, supplies ran short, colonies began to starve. Governors sent desperate messages to the capital, begging for protection, begging for food. But the fleets sent to protect them never returned. Every few weeks, the Phantom struck again. Sometimes it erased a station. Sometimes it swallowed fleets. Sometimes it only appeared, watching glowing veins pulsing like a heartbeat. Then it vanished, leaving terror behind. Fear became a weapon sharper than any blade. Soldiers refused orders. Captains abandoned their posts. In the outer colonies, entire garrisons deserted, choosing to hide in caves and jungles rather than face the Phantom. On one world, the people rose against their governor, shouting that the Empire could not protect them. They tore down the banners, painted crude human symbols on walls, and declared themselves free. On another world, miners sealed their colony dome and swore never to answer the Empire again. The Emperor sat in his throne, trembling with rage. "Cowards," he shouted at his council. "Traitors! How can shadows defeat the greatest power in the galaxy?" But his voice was hollow. His eyes betrayed fear. Whispers filled the council chamber. Some spoke of surrender. Some spoke of fleeing. Some even dared to suggest making peace with humans if humans truly lived. Meanwhile, Siva continued his secret work. He collected stories from survivors. He wrote them in hidden journals, and each story carried the same truth. The Phantom was human. The Empire had lied for centuries. The humans had never been destroyed. The news spread like fire. Smugglers carried it between worlds. Rebels shouted it in streets. Even soldiers whispered it in barracks. "The humans are back," they said, "and the Empire is finished." One day, an entire fleet vanished near the border, not destroyed, not broken, simply erased. Families waited for messages that never came. The people began to curse the Empire itself, blaming it for provoking powers it could not control. On the capital world, riots broke out. Citizens stormed the food depots, soldiers fired into crowds, but discipline was gone. The crowd roared back with fury, chanting the word the Emperor hated most: humans, humans, humans. The Phantom did not even need to appear that night. Its shadow was already there, tearing the Empire apart from within. Far from the riots, Siva stood alone in the archives. His hands shook as he held the old recording again. The human voice echoed in his ears. "We will not warn, we will not ask, we will not forgive." He closed his eyes, whispering, "It is happening. They are keeping their promise." The outer colonies declared independence one by one. Some swore loyalty to the humans they had never seen. Some swore only to survive. But none swore to the Empire. The generals begged the Emperor to retreat, to pull back, to protect the core worlds. But he refused. His pride was greater than his reason. "We are eternal," he shouted. "No human ghost can end us." But even as he spoke, his voice trembled. The Phantom appeared once more, this time above a fortress world. Its glowing veins pulsed across the night. The planet's guns roared. Fleets filled the sky, but nothing touched it. In a single heartbeat, the fortress vanished, millions gone in silence. The survivors broke, fleeing into the stars. The Empire was no longer a mountain. It was dust in the wind. Across the galaxy, a new truth spread, whispered in fear and awe. The humans have returned, the human revelation. The Empire was falling. Colony after colony broke away. Fleets had vanished, and governors no longer obeyed. The phantom ship had not destroyed every world, but it had destroyed something greater, the Empire's pride. Then came the night the Empire heard the human voice. It began in the Saran sector, where a surviving fleet gathered near a communication relay. They hoped to lure the phantom out. They wanted to prove they could still fight. For hours, the skies were calm. Then the stars bent. The phantom appeared in silence, its black hull stretched across the void, glowing veins pulsing like a living thing. The fleet panicked, weapons blazed, but once again the fire passed through smoke. The phantom did not strike, not at first, it only waited. Then the comm screens lit up. A voice filled every ship, every relay, every speaker. It was calm, deep, and cold. It spoke in the old tongue, the language of humans. "You spread war for centuries," the voice said, steady as stone. "We only spread silence." Every officer froze. The language was ancient, yet every word was clear. Some soldiers trembled, some wept. The admiral shouted orders, but their voices were drowned by the echo. Of the human message, the phantom did not fire its weapons. Instead, one by one, the Empire ships powered down. Not by choice, not by command. Their systems simply shut off, as if the phantom had taken their will. The crew sat helpless as the human voice continued. "You built empires from ashes, you enslaved, you conquered, you called yourselves eternal. But eternity does not belong to you." Then the phantom pulsed once, like a heartbeat, and vanished. The fleet drifted powerless, dozens of ships lost in silence. Hours later, when power returned, many refused to continue the fight. Entire crews mutinied, refusing to face the humans again. News spread faster than fire. The words of the phantom were repeated everywhere. We only spread silence. The Empire could no longer deny it. This was no ghost, no trick. This was human. On the capital world, the council was shaken. Even, the Emperor sat pale in his throne, his lips pressed thin, his hands trembling. At last he whispered the word he had denied for years. Humans. In the streets, the people shouted the same word, but with awe. Some cried for salvation, some cried for vengeance, but all of them believed the humans had returned. Siva, the young researcher, wrote in his secret journal, "It is no longer rumor. It is no longer hidden. The galaxy has heard their voice. The truth is revealed." He copied the human words again and again. We only spread silence. Rebellions rose openly now. Whole sectors declared independence. The human symbol appeared everywhere, painted on walls, carved into stone, whispered in prayers. Some saw the phantom as death. Others saw it as freedom. Either way, the Empire's chains were breaking. Generals tried to hold order. They promised the Emperor that new weapons would be built, stronger fleets prepared. But their soldiers no longer listened. Their fleets no longer believed. For what use are weapons against silence? The Emperor grew desperate. He locked himself in his palace, surrounded by guards. His speeches grew shorter, his words weaker. He raged at shadows. He cursed the humans. But his rage sounded hollow. Even his loyal servants whispered behind his back. The galaxy shifted. The phantom no longer needed to strike. Its voice had struck deeper than any weapon. In the darkness of space, the phantom appeared once more, not to fleets, not to soldiers, but to a single colony world. This time, it did not erase. It did not vanish. It opened its comms again. A human face appeared, clear and sharp, eyes cold, expression calm. It spoke with the same steady voice. "The Empire ends tonight, not with fire, but with silence. Remember our promise." Then the face vanished, the ship disappeared, and the world trembled. The people wept, not from fear alone, but from the weight of truth. Humans were real. Humans were here, and across the galaxy the revelation spread. The humans had not been destroyed. They had been waiting, watching. For centuries they had hidden, and now they had returned. The Empire had no chance left. The revelation was complete. The galaxy belonged to silence. The galaxy belonged to humans. The end of the Empire. The Emperor sat alone in his throne. The great hall, once filled with proud voices, now echoed with silence. The banners of the Empire hung heavy, their colors faded. Outside, the capital world burned with riots and chaos. The phantom ship had spoken. The human voice had been heard across every system, and now the people no longer feared the Emperor. They feared the silence in the sky. From the balcony of his palace, the Emperor watched fires spread through the city. Crowds shouted below, not for him, not for the Empire, but for the humans. The word he hated most rang through the streets like thunder. Humans, humans, humans. The council no longer met, generals no longer reported, fleets no longer answered his orders. The Empire was crumbling not by war, but by disbelief. His power had turned to dust in his hands. Then the sky rippled. Above the capital world, the phantom ship appeared, its black hull stretched across the heavens, glowing veins pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. The people fell silent. Millions stood, frozen, staring up. The Emperor himself dropped to his knees, his strength gone. The city's guns tried to fire, but they refused. The fleets tried to launch, but engines died. The capital's great shield flickered once, then collapsed. No weapon answered, no defense remained. The phantom hovered above them. Silent and endless, it did not fire, it did not move, it simply was. And its presence alone was enough to break the last hope of the Empire. Then, across every screen, every comm, every speaker, the human voice returned, calm and steady. You built an empire of fear, the voice said. You silenced others, now silence comes for you. The Emperor screamed, his voice cracked as he shouted at the sky. You cannot destroy us. We are eternal. We are the Empire. But his words rang empty. The people no longer listened. The phantom pulsed once, a flash of light rippling across the city, and in that moment, the imperial palace vanished. Gone. In silence. No explosion, no wreckage, only emptiness. The crowds gasped, then they fell to their knees. Some wept, some prayed, some laughed with relief. The Emperor was gone. The Empire was leaderless. The phantom lingered a moment longer, its glowing veins bright against the night. Then it vanished, leaving only silence. Across the galaxy, messages spread. The Emperor is gone. The Empire has fallen. On distant colonies, governors declared freedom. On rebel worlds, cheers filled the skies. Soldiers laid down their weapons, refusing to fight shadows any longer. In the archives, Siva watched the news unfold. His hands shook. Tears filled his eyes. He whispered the words he had read in the old recording. We will not warn, we will not ask, we will not forgive. He bowed his head, knowing the promise was kept. The phantom did not return to rule. It did not crown a new king. It did not raise a flag. It left silence behind, silence that was heavier than any rule. Without the Empire, the galaxy was free, but it was also afraid. Worlds whispered of humans. Some called them saviors. Some called them executioners. But none dared deny them. The Empire had believed itself eternal. It had ruled for centuries with iron and fire. Yet in the end, it had fallen without a single battle won. The phantom ship had shown the truth. Humans were never gone. Humans were waiting, and the Empire never had a chance. On a quiet night in the far reaches of space, the phantom drifted once more. Its glowing veins pulsed softly, like a heart beating in the dark. It did not speak. It did not fight. It simply vanished again. The galaxy would never forget. The silence of humans was now louder than war. The age of the Empire was over. The age of humans had begun.